Hello, my name is Debbie Clark, and I'm the host on Mature Matters today. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in with us. We have a very special guest, and we're going to be talking about the importance of water. As I was preparing to speak to our guest, I went online and I came up with a quote that I thought was pretty profound. Thousands have lived without love, but not one without water. It tells us the very need for water in our body. I'd like to introduce our special guest, Jeriana Luscri. She's a nurse from Beaumont, Farmington Hills, and we are very happy to have her here to talk about this important topic.
Thank you for having me.
Hello and good morning. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, it is very important for me to be able to educate the community, and it is something that I know that I incorporate in my daily practice, so it is very, very helpful, and it's helped me a great deal as well too, just understanding the importance of water in our diet and our environment. So.
Yes, and we've met on quite a few of the community events, and she was gracious enough to accept my invitation. So thank you again. Can you let us just know about your background, Jeriana? It sounds like you come from a vast expansion of a lot of things.
Yes, I do. Born and raised here in Detroit. I've been working at Botsford Hospital for 29 years now. Come from a long history of very healthy people, and my heritage is Italian, and so the good cooking and things that we incorporate into our life, and just little lessons. My father was a World War II vet and understood the benefits of hydration as well too when he was in different encounters, overseas and all. One of the things that impressed me was just how important it is in healing. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, and that was one thing that I was always well hydrated, and being able to heal and recover from different surgeries and medication effects that I had had as well too, going through my journey. I primarily work in labor and delivery, and I'm a testing nurse, and what that is I am my credentials bring me to be able to assess and monitor compromised fetuses in the womb. So I have ultrasound training, and for mothers who are from diabetes and having blood pressure problems to previous compromise of pregnancy. So my scope is from early child development and pregnant moms all the way to senior health. Personally, my mother has Alzheimer's, and I know the impact of hydration for her as well too, with a few different hospitalizations that she's needed, and even the quality of her attention and alertness is compromised when she's dehydrated. So in her circumstance, hydration is very, very important. We're always hydrating her. And she does like to drink water, so that's not a real bad push for us. But we always keep water in her quarters so that she's able to access that. And she understands, and she does enjoy drinking water.
Oh, so that's wonderful. So the big question is, why is water or hydration so important to our bodies?
Well, the biggest thing is that because our body is made up primarily of water, and just like the earth we were talking earlier, 70% of the earth is made up of water, and 70% of our bodies are made up of water as well too. So I need to keep that in balance. The things that we do and that we're exposed to, so as I'm circulating fluids, I'm also eliminating fluids out of my system. Whether I'm urinating, I have a bowel movement, I'm vomiting, we lose fluids in different aspects. So if somebody is sick with the flu and they're vomiting and have diarrhea, they need to compensate back the fluid that has been lost.
Right.
So, and even though it might be a challenge to bring fluids in, they have to get them somewhere. So if it's a need to get to the hospital to get hydrated intravenously, if you can't ingest that, enough fluids to compensate for that, it's necessary, because the dehydrated state can start to compromise clotting factors and cause you to have bleeding dyscrasias and dysfunctions and things like that. For newborns, it's important to make sure that they're drinking plenty of fluids. So we don't need to compensate water in an infant's diet as long as they're drinking plenty of either breast milk or formula. Right. Later on, after 3 months, they can have juices and things like that, again, under the doctor's prescriptions of what the baby's ready for. Preemie babies might be a little bit longer before they're going to be able to have other types of fluid sources. But we certainly don't want to compromise a child's intake with sodas and other types of things. Water and fruit juices are best for growing children, so it's a compromise. But from the air that we breathe, it becomes more difficult when it's dry outside to breathe. So our lungs need hydration to be able to circulate oxygen. Our blood needs water to be able to circulate through our veins. Our liver needs water. It's a very moist, spongy type organ. And when we're dehydrated, the sponge filter of our liver is dehydrated too, and it's not functioning at capacity. So our urine becomes dark, our kidneys become dehydrated, our urine becomes even darker still. So our urine should be like a light straw color. It really shouldn't be yellow. When everybody thinks his pee is being yellow, technically it shouldn't be. If I'm on a vitamin supplement, the colorant of some of those vitamins might transmit into my urine, so it might add different colors. So some medications will discolor our urine, but if I'm a well-hydrated individual, I shouldn't be able to see much color in the toilet water when I urinate into the toilet.
Wow.
So that's the difference. But some patients will hand me their urine specimen cup, and I immediately look at them and said, this looks like mud. This is inappropriate. You need water. They've never been told that before.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I thought that's what that looked like. No, it should be as thin as water and almost as clear as water. So when it's cloudy or dark, something's wrong. We should turn around and look in the toilet and see what we've
absolutely.
eliminated. We get a test of where we're at, hydration-wise, and if there's anything going on wrong with our bodies. So.
Right. When I was looking online for some hydration sites, I came across a site that said, what you're just telling us, and then how lack of water can cause kidney stones as well.
Right.
And my brother just had 3 major ones, and he does not drink water like he's supposed to.
Right.
So I immediately text that site to him.
Yeah. And that was helpful for you. One of the things that we understand is that there are certain conditions where somebody who has gout, they have an accumulation of certain crystals and salts in their system that is beyond their control to some degree. However, if they're well hydrated, even if they had accumulation of those we call salt crystals within their system, being hydrated will help purge them out more efficiently, and they won't have the compromise or the damage inside their kidneys that they would if they weren't hydrated.
Right, so that was a question I was going to go into, is if we don't stay hydrated, if we don't drink the amount of water we need to, what are some of the things medically that we're going to see, like we talked about? Okay,
so the development of different kidney stones, even gallstones, okay, that's an injection of bile into our gut, but if we're perpetually hydrated enough, we have less of an issue with that. And there are things genetically that we can't unrelate ourselves to, whether it's diabetes or cancer or high blood pressure. Some things we're related to. Other things are by choice. We might have high blood pressure because we are carrying around more than 30 pounds extra of weight, and our blood pressure goes up because it needs to compensate for that.
Sure.
We might be diabetic because our intake of sugars are too high. So some of the things are changeable risk factors or unchangeable risk factors. But if I'm doing my best to keep myself healthy, I'm related to cancer, I'm related to anemias, I'm related to stroke, but these are the things that my family has had, and some of them personally I've had. But I keep my sugars in balance by staying well hydrated, exercising, and watching what I take in. So at least I can control what I can control.
Right.
But from our skin to our lungs to our liver, every single organ that we have needs water to function properly. And when we're dehydrated, there's dysfunction within all of our organs. So our skin isn't as flexible. Our inability to heal isn't going to be to par if I'm dehydrated, because the tissue of my skin is more brittle, so it can't bridge and it can't heal and it can't solidify and create scar tissue to smooth over and repair that area underneath. So every single one of our organs is dependent on the fluid that we take in and that we keep from being hydrated out. Living here in Michigan, we know that we're a little bit more dehydrated during the winter months.
Absolutely.
Because our air is so dry. So our air is taking it out of. I have 2 pieces of fruit here. So this is an apple, still looking glistening and not puckering at all. But would you be interested in this cutie tangerine?
Mm-hmm.
It's puckering.
Looking kind of shriveled
so
there.
it's shriveling. And I allowed this to happen over the holidays. And I took this, and I wanted to bring this to show the difference of what's hydrated. So the harsh effects of the environment I haven't taken any fluid out of that orange. It is just evaporated through its environment. So we lose fluid through evaporation and through a lack of intake. So if I'm not drinking enough, then I'm less than par. If I'm not sealing in the juices that I have, literally, by using lotions to create a barrier, Vaseline is a great sealant. So if I'm going to be working in the yard in the wintertime, shoveling snow, just to put a little bit of Vaseline on my face, I'm not going to come in with that red, harsh, drying effects of the wind and the cold. Skiing, things like that. It's great to put on our hands, and it helps moisturize them a little bit, but it's only locking in the moisture. It's not being absorbed into our skin. Petroleum is not absorbed through, in its raw form, it's crude oil. Yeah. But petroleum is just a different.
It just sits on the skin.
It just sits on the skin, but it creates a sealant. So we can use it as that sealer when we're doing outdoor activities. But for internal hydration, drinking our 6 to 8 glasses of water. So, this is, if it's hard for you to drink water, and it makes me chuckle because some people say, oh, I don't like the taste of water. Then either you need a water filter in your home or find a different product. Because some waters do have a bit of an aftertaste. If it's a spring water, if, there's mineral waters, there's a variety of waters. Find one that you do like. Whether it's Kroger brand, whether it's Costco brand, it doesn't matter what store it's bought from or what spring it's, if it's suited for you, squirt a little lemon in there. Even a drop of lemon juice will alter some of those side effect tastes that you have and make it a little bit more palatable for you.
Yes, I see you have a lot of demos here.
Eating hydrated fruit. We get water through some of the things, but if we're only drinking, soda pop, which is sodium and some water, that's dehydrating us. If we're drinking coffee, every cup of coffee that we drink in, we pee off too, so we're dehydrating that at the same time practically. If we're having foods that are like, again, crackers and things like that, just bringing up a side note, there's an acronym called the BRAT. So it's BRAT diet: bananas, rice, applesauce, toast. Those are things that constipate us, that kind of bind up our stools. So if you're constipated and dehydrated, you want to avoid bananas, rice, applesauce, toast, dry things, because it's going to dehydrate your gut even more and make that constipation even more pronounced. I want to rehydrate my bowels and my general body. So I want to drink more fluid, eat more high fiber, moist fruits like apples, oranges, things like that. And anything that's going to help me produce a bowel movement. So if a big cup of ice water helps you go, or a cup of coffee helps you go, those would be the things that you'd want to increase for that period of time, at least to get the bowels running. As stool sits in the lower bowel, it starts to pull more fluid out of the gut, so it creates even a more pronounced dehydration, because your body knows to try to send more moisture to that impacted hard stool. So people who have a history of bowel impaction, bowel obstruction, they really want to consistently be almost in a little bit of a overhydrated state, as long as they don't have any cardiac dysfunctions like congestive heart failure, where they have a lot of water congestion around the heart. So depending on what you experience, then you should. If you're the type of person who drinks plenty of fluids and has a bowel movement before noon every day, you're probably well hydrated. That's proof that you're well hydrated. If you're urinating enough, and one of the things that we like to talk about is just, how do I know that I'm getting enough? If I'm producing tears, if I'm producing enough urine. Infants who cry but there's no tears, they're dehydrated. We know that right away. It compromises us. If we have a baby who's brought in very ill and they've been throwing up and having diarrhea, and the mom says, oh, and she hasn't had any tears in a couple days, I need to try to start an IV on that infant. It's going to be very, very difficult, because there's hardly any flow of fluid. There's hardly any blood flow. To find a vein on that baby is going to be so, so difficult. So, if at all, to save anything, drink plenty of fluid, so that if you have to go into the hospital, they can start your IV a little more easy.
Right.
So,
yeah, so you had talked about the atmosphere and
Right.
staying hydrated. So I was very interested to
Yeah.
hear about the vaporizer
So-
and the pan of water.
And I have just any kind of vaporizer. You can spend anywhere from $10 to $100 on a vaporizer. It doesn't take a lot of money just to get fluid into our ears, or our air, pardon me. One of the things that my father used to do when I was young was fill up a pot of water and just have it somewhere in the house. Years and years ago, they used to keep the bathtub water there until their next bath, because that water would humidify the air, especially during the winter months when our humidity is so very low. When we're looking at a 10 to 30% on average during the winter months of humidity in our air, and in the summer months we're up 97, 98, and we can feel it. We feel moisture on our skin,
Right.
because there's humidity in our air. So simply just taking a pot of water, any old pot, fill it with water, and if you put it near the vent as the air comes out of the furnace and circulates through your home, it picks up some of that air and then helps circulate it a little bit better as well too. Especially people with who are having colds, compromised by that.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody with asthma, hydration to their air is much better. That's one of the things that they have cold effect type asthma. When it's very dry outside, they have a more difficult time breathing, because again, our lungs are like sponges, and when they're dry, they don't transfer the moisture that's necessary to get the air and the oxygen absorbed into the blood system. So, something very simple, by just a pot of water or using a humidifier that emits it and blows it into the air and keeps it nice and warm. Exterior hydration can be as simple as just using an aloe, and some of these products you can even get at the dollar store.
I thought that was so interesting.
So aloe is absorbed into the skin, and there are actually types of edible aloe, obviously not ones that are colored, but there's one that I will say has no additives, no colors, no fragrances or anything. And if you have a sore on the inside of your mouth, you can actually take a Q-tip and swab it on there. It absorbs, rehydrates, helps that area heal, and also there's healing properties within the aloe itself too. So for dry, chapped skin, using aloe would be a really good product, but simply just putting Vaseline on it, you're sealing it, but now I need to make sure that I'm internally hydrated. Otherwise, I'm sealing in, dryness is
Right.
all I've got. I brought my little pill container. Vitamin D in the winter months, especially again here in Michigan, and for those of us who are over 40. After 40, our body doesn't internally produce or store certain vitamins, and so it's important to reintroduce those. Vitamin B12 and vitamin D are two that as we age start to be depleted. So, and it just helps out with proper cell function.
Right.
Altogether. Fruit juices are awesome.
Which fruit
and
juices
so
do you have?
this is just a product that actually has vegetables and fruits mixed together. So it helps with hydration, increases fiber, and it's a good source of natural sugars without having soda pop. Soda pop has a lot of sodium and sugar and no vitamin A's or D's or E's or anything. So when we're looking at what we're drinking, I drink all day long. Well, Mountain Dew
Right.
isn't going to cut it. I always, when I'm talking about poor diets, I always, make jokes to my patients, it's not Munchos and Mountain Dew. Munchos and Mountain Dew are just seem to be that one thing that high sodium, low vitamin quality, and very little nutritional value. So if it's soda pops and chips, then it's just not good. We have to have more fruits and vegetables, things that give us natural hydration and good natural digestible minerals and vitamins and things like that.
Right,
So.
and I also saw watermelon's good.
Oh, watermelon is fantastic. And again, too, it is a little bit more of a higher sugar.
Yeah.
And we'll have some elderly people will complain that they have more dreams at night if they eat the watermelon very late. It's just one of those things. And because it's high sugar, one of those things, it just seems to be something that I've heard, more commonly. But plenty of different, again, if you have diarrhea or even if you have the flu, going back to that brat diet, bananas, rice, applesauce, toast, those are things that will help bind that and be able to minimize your loss. So if I control the diarrhea, then I'm not losing fluids as fast.
Right.
So I want to, to create a solution instead of just drinking more and more water. Yes, the water will be a benefit, but a benefit would be to stop the number or the liquefying of the bowel
Makes
movements.
total sense. I
So,
wondered
little
about
things
that.
like that. So,
And you had mentioned if somebody wanted to number their bottles.
correct. This way, then I'm one that it's like I have a water filter on my refrigerator, so I'll refill my own water bottle, but I won't use it for more than one day. And we've had some controversy about
Sure.
the emissions of different toxins through the water bottles and all. But if you want to use a different type of container and just refill that, most people are just fine with tap water. And that is good. If you're in an area where there's warnings and things, then of course you want to not be using your tap water during that period of time. But typically our water filtration in our area is just fine, and tap water is good enough. And again, if just to make it more palatable, even slicing, whether it's apple or putting fresh fruit, shoving it into here and drinking it. I was at a meeting the other day, and a friend of mine had a water bottle with just frozen raspberries she had in there.
Oh.
And as the raspberries, emitted their flavor into the water, you can see her water discoloring, but it was, more flavorful
Natural
for her.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Natural too, because if you buy sometimes when you buy other things,
Correct.
then there's other things added
Right,
along with
right.
that.
You're simply just, again, too, you have apples that are starting to go bad, and just slice them up, crush them a little bit and just place them into your water. Lemon obviously is the most popular, and that's good because, again, too, it gives us some vitamins as well as there too, and little vitamin C also.
Right.
So again, if you're choosing non-water beverages, as long as they're coming in a healthier form, and like I said, not coffee and pop, they're just not going to be counting. They shouldn't be counting towards your intake, at least a high percentage. So at least 50 to 60% of your water intake should be just plain
water. Yeah. And I see you have a lotion bottle. Do you have anything to say what might be a better lotion to use to hydrate our skin?
Again, if dollars are a problem for you, the dollar store has products as well too. Costco has lotions at a discounted price. Some of them with vitamin infused, you can spend up to $36 for a bottle this size. Okay, this obviously I don't.
Yeah.
I'm pretty practical about spending my money, but finding something that's affordable and that's going to do the job. If some of cocoa butter is a very good one. Again, Palmer's, which is an old brand, carried at Dollar General. And cocoa butter, olive oil is something too. A lot of people, when you see lotions that have olive oil, we do absorb olive oil into our skin. And even that product that you have on your kitchen counter, you can take a little bit of that and put it on your skin, for those times where you're harshly dehydrated, and that will be a benefit as well too. But internal hydration really is key, because it doesn't matter how much I spend on a great lotion if I'm not drinking plenty of water, or I'm drinking solutions that have high sodium. I'm dehydrating as I'm drinking.
Yes.
So we really need to make sure that we're balancing ourselves. The water that we need for our bodies is necessary. This isn't just a whimsical, little request from the healthcare industry. 75% of hospitalizations are directly related to dehydration.
Whoa,
that's
huge.
Working in labor and delivery, our first defense for preterm labor is IV, just water solution to the mother. So when women have issues with preterm labor, I tell them, if you're starting to have contractions, drink 2 large cups of water and sit down. So you're conserving some of your water stores, because your body's going into labor because it thinks it needs to survive. You're putting it into a survival mode, and hormones change systematically, and your body says, I need to keep this one healthy. To go into labor and to deliver this baby so that I can independently control these two. So it's an interesting dynamic, but when we're dehydrated, we can have issues with difficulty breathing because we're not oxygenating well because our lungs are becoming dry. We can have delayed wound healing. So whether it's an injury, a bruise, or even surgery, we will have delayed skin healing and even internal organ healing because we're dehydrated. The cells are not working at their max efficiency, and there's going to be compromise. Clotting factors, people who have strokes, if they're dehydrated, the blood's going to clot faster because it's thicker and dehydrated. When we have enough circulation, we're going to decrease our chance of having strokes. So from top to bottom, from confusion to blurred vision even, our eyes are a ball of water. When the fluid level in our eye socket is decreased, then our vision becomes blurry. So from top to bottom, from confusion of mental status to diabetic ulcerations on the foot, there's going to be improved healing and recovery and less insult if we're hydrated from top to bottom.
I know, it's interesting. You know, it takes me back. I had to have a precancerous mole removed off the bottom of my foot. I did not drink water well at all back when. And I was a slow healer. So it's like a light bulb just went off in my head. I wonder if that's why, because I was healthy, you know, I ate, but I was not drinking the water.
So and again, it is the vehicle of which our nutrition circulates through our body. So I can say that I eat well, but if I'm not creating an avenue for those good minerals and vitamins to circulate through my body, I'm really not doing it well enough.
So important.
So
if we wanted to have our audience take away a couple key points, how could we sum this up for them?
First point,
yes,
the 6 to 8 glasses of water generally for everybody. Most people who are compromised need to drink a little bit more than that. So this represents 16 ounces of fluid, which is 2 cups. So if I drink 3 to 4 bottles of water a day, I've met my quota. Now, looking over a course of the day, if I have to take medications in the morning, I can get 2 glasses of water before I even leave the bathroom. Always have a cup of water, or cup for water in the bathroom. When you brush your teeth, instead of rinsing and spitting, rinse and then drink the rest of that water. That's 1 cup down. You have to take vitamins in the morning. First of all, make sure that you take a few sips beforehand. This way the pill doesn't get stuck. Because the worst thing to have is a dry throat and getting the pill stuck. And it's not the size of the pill, it's the dryness of the tube. So if we're drinking that water before we take our pill, it's going to go down easier than if we try to force that pill down a dry pipe. So again, you take your morning medications. Don't just push the pill down with 1 sip of water and then pour the water out. You put the water in there, drink the rest, please. So a lot of people end up wasting it. Everybody, they drink their water after they take their pill and pour it right down. So 2 cups of water is already done before you even, start your day. Then if you had a glass with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're at 5 cups. So you're closer. Then 1 other cup, maybe before you go to sleep. If sleep is interrupted by bathroom breaks, you're drinking water beforehand really isn't going to add to that. You're probably still going to go and get up to the bathroom. So the 6 to 8 glasses of water is first key point. The second thing is your personal self-assessment, knowing that you're dehydrated. So whether it's a dry mouth, difficulty breathing, dry lips, dry skin, that you can just tell that your body needs it. Imagine what your internal organs are doing that you can't see. Your lungs, your heart. Symbolically, every one of your cells is shriveling and puckering. And then again, too, just making sure that you're taking in enough water inside and out, hydrating your system. When we're in dry environment, that we rehydrate the skin from the outside as well, too, as the internal. So.
Well, thank you so much. So much good information.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate it, like I said in the beginning, for you taking this time out of your day.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I think the big question is, how much water are you drinking? And we need to drink more. At this time, I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.